This video breaks down the real reasons men lose consistency and sabotage their own progress, and the purpose of this video is simple: to expose the hidden habits that kill your discipline and show you how to fix them once and for all. We're going deep into the mindset, the behaviors, and the internal weaknesses that keep men stuck while others rise. If you want stronger discipline, better results, and a life built on power instead of excuses, then watch till the end and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Most men don't rise because life is too comfortable. Comfort kills urgency. It numbs the masculine edge and turns a man into a spectator of his own life. When everything is easy, your mind never wakes up, never sharpens, never grows hunger. You become domesticated, tame, predictable, and drained of ambition. Men who stay soft stay stuck because comfort teaches you to avoid pressure, avoid challenge, avoid the exact forces that build strength. A man without discomfort is a man without momentum. Discomfort is the fire that forges discipline. When you willingly choose the harder path every single day, you build a mind that refuses to break. You build a spine that holds under pressure. You build a level of consistency that average men never touch because they never face anything that tests them. The comfort trap is dangerous because it feels safe while silently destroying your potential. It whispers lies, that you have time, that you can start tomorrow, that your dreams can wait. But the truth is simple: you only grow when you step directly into the things your comfortable self wants to avoid. If you want to rise, you must train your mind to crave resistance. You must choose the cold, the tired days, the work you don't feel like doing. You must kill the softness inside you that wants shortcuts and instant gratification. Consistency is not built in comfort. It is built in the heat of discomfort, repeated daily. That is where men sharpen into something dangerous, disciplined, and impossible to stop. A man who doesn't know who he is cannot stay consistent. When your identity is unstable, your actions become unstable too. You chase discipline for a week, then fall apart the moment stress hits. You try new habits, but nothing sticks because there is no solid core holding your life together. If your identity isn't built on discipline, purpose, and high standards, you collapse the moment life hits you. A weak identity crumbles under pressure, but a strong identity becomes more focused, more aggressive, more grounded. The difference is simple. One man reacts to life while the other dictates how he shows up regardless of circumstances. Consistency isn't just about actions. It's about becoming the type of man who does what needs to be done, whether he feels like it or not. When your identity is tied to strength, you don't negotiate with your mind. You don't ask yourself if you feel motivated. You don't wait for the perfect moment. You move because movement is who you are. Men without identity drift through life. They copy others. They follow trends. They seek validation instead of direction. They switch goals every month because nothing feels rooted. Nothing feels like theirs. And without a clear identity, there is no foundation for long-term growth. To build consistency, you must build a self-image that demands discipline. You must see yourself as a man of standards who follows through. You must create an identity that makes laziness feel unnatural and effort feel automatic. When your identity is strong, the world cannot break you. Setbacks don't destroy you. Criticism doesn't shake you. Distractions don't control you. You act with purpose because you know exactly who you are and what you stand for. And that identity becomes the engine of unstoppable consistency. Men lose consistency because they are slaves to their emotions. They let every spike of anger, stress, or sadness dictate their actions. One bad day and everything falls apart. One argument and they throw away their routines. One wave of frustration and discipline disappears like it never existed. This emotional weakness makes a man unpredictable and unreliable, both to himself and to others. Strong men don't rely on motivation. They rely on control. They understand that emotions are temporary, but consequences are real. They don't allow a bad mood to ruin the mission. They don't allow stress to break their standards. They don't allow discomfort to interrupt progress. A man who masters his emotions becomes dangerous because he becomes consistent no matter what storm hits. You act even when you're tired, angry, stressed, or uninspired, and that is what separates winners from the invisible masses. Weak men wait for the perfect emotional state before doing the work. Strong men execute regardless. Weak men let feelings command them. Strong men command their feelings. Weak men escape into comfort when life gets hard. Strong men face the pressure and perform anyway. Emotional control isn't about becoming numb. It's about directing your emotional energy instead of being trapped by it. Anger can fuel you, stress can sharpen you, fear can push you forward, but only if you are the one steering the wheel, not the emotion itself. Men who lack emotional control live in cycles of chaos. One good week followed by 3 bad ones. They can start, but they can never maintain, because their standards collapse every time their emotions shift. And without emotional stability, consistency does not exist. If you want to rise, you must become the man who stays in control when others lose themselves, who stays focused when others crumble, who stays disciplined when others drown in excuses. When your emotions stop commanding your actions, your life finally starts moving in the direction you choose, not the direction your moods drag you toward. Most men rely on motivation instead of systems. They wait for a burst of energy or inspiration to push them forward, but motivation fades fast and leaves you empty. If your habits are not structured, and your environment is not optimized, you will fail every time because nothing in your life is designed to keep you moving. Wishful thinking makes you imagine success. Systems make you earn it. Without systems, you repeat the same cycle again and again. Motivated Monday, lazy Tuesday, collapsing by Thursday, then restarting next week with the same empty promise. A system removes decision-making and replaces it with a clear path that forces progress even when you feel weak. Consistency grows when your life supports your goals instead of sabotaging them. Your environment must make success easier and failure harder. That means setting up routines that run automatically, organizing your space so distractions stay out, controlling your time so you stop wasting hours on meaningless comfort. You cannot be consistent in a chaotic environment because discipline needs structure to survive. Systems are the backbone of every strong man. A morning routine that sets the tone, a training schedule that never changes, a work block that builds discipline, a plan that removes guesswork. Every powerful man understands this. You don't rise by chance, you rise by design. Build systems, not fantasies. Fantasies feel good for a moment, but systems change your life permanently. A fantasy is a dream. A system is a weapon. A fantasy dies when emotions drop. A system keeps running even when you are tired, stressed, or unmotivated. When you build systems, you eliminate inconsistency. You eliminate hesitation. You eliminate the weak version of yourself that keeps failing. Your systems become the framework that carries you through every difficult day. And once they are in place, progress stops being complicated and starts becoming inevitable. Men today can't stay consistent because their brain is constantly hijacked by noise, social media, dopamine hits, endless entertainment. You are being pulled in 1,000 directions, and every pull steals a piece of your discipline. Your mind was not built for this level of constant stimulation, and every notification, every scroll, every useless video drains your ability to focus. Your focus is bleeding out every second, and a man who cannot focus cannot build anything meaningful. Distraction is the silent killer of ambition. It destroys your ability to stay locked in, to finish what you start, to stay committed when things get hard. Most men don't even realize their attention span is so damaged that they can't sit still for 5 minutes without reaching for their phone. Distraction addiction makes you weak because it keeps you mentally scattered, always chasing the next hit of dopamine, instead of the next step toward your purpose. You waste hours on meaningless content, and then wonder why you cannot stay consistent with your goals. You tell yourself you don't have time, but the truth is your time is being stolen by distractions you willingly feed. If you want to stay consistent, you must protect your attention like a warrior protects his shield. Your focus is your greatest weapon. It decides whether you stay average or become unstoppable. When your attention is controlled by external noise, you become a passive man. When you control your attention, you become a disciplined one. This means eliminating the garbage that hijacks your mind, deleting apps that consume your energy, turning off notifications, setting strict boundaries with your phone, creating spaces where focus is the only option. It means training your brain to stay in the present moment and resist the urge to escape into comfort. A man with strong focus becomes dangerous because he can outwork, outthink, and outgrow everyone around him. He stays consistent because nothing steals his attention. Nothing breaks his momentum. Nothing pulls him off his path. When you break your distraction addiction, you reclaim your time, your energy, your discipline, and ultimately your life. Focus is the foundation of consistency, and once you master it, you operate on a level most men will never touch. A man with no accountability is a man with no pressure to evolve. Without pressure, you drift, you stall, you soften. When no one checks your effort, your standards drop without you even noticing. You start cutting corners. You start letting small failures slide. You start lowering the bar until average becomes normal. When no one challenges you, you become average because there is nothing pushing you beyond your comfort threshold. A man alone with his excuses becomes weak. He convinces himself he is doing enough when he is barely moving. Accountability exposes the truth. It forces you to face your laziness, your inconsistencies, your excuses. Find mentors, brothers, or a routine that demands results from you. A man grows faster when someone expects greatness from him. When you know someone will ask if you trained, if you worked, if you executed your plan, you rise to the standard instead of collapsing under it. Accountability pushes you to perform even on the days you feel like quitting. Pressure builds strong men. Pressure sharpens your discipline. Pressure keeps you honest. Pressure forces growth. A man without pressure becomes soft and forgettable. A man with pressure becomes focused and powerful. Accountability is not weakness, it is strategy. The strongest men in the world surround themselves with people who demand more from them than they demand from themselves. They know that iron sharpens iron, and isolation sharpens nothing. If you want to stay consistent, you need forces around you that keep you aligned with your mission. You need standards higher than your moods. You need people or systems that catch you when you start slipping into the old version of yourself. When accountability becomes part of your life, you stop hiding. You stop lying to yourself. You stop half-committing. You start showing up with strength because you know someone will see whether you rise or fail. And that pressure becomes the engine that drives unstoppable consistency. Most men stay inconsistent because they fear failing. Fear of failure freezes action. It keeps men stuck in routines that achieve nothing. They fear judgment, embarrassment, or not being good enough, and those fears whisper lies that stop them from taking the necessary steps forward. They convince themselves that waiting, hesitating, or avoiding risk is safer than actually building something meaningful. That fear makes them avoid effort, avoid risk, avoid discipline, and in doing so they sabotage their own potential. They dream about results but never do the work. They plan but never execute. They hope but never act. Because failure is uncomfortable, they choose safety over progress, and safety never transforms a man. The truth is simple. Strong men use failure as fuel. They embrace it, they analyze it, they extract lessons that sharpen their skill, expand their resilience, and build a stronger version of themselves. Every mistake becomes a stepping stone. Every setback becomes a challenge to rise higher. Weak men use failure as an excuse. They hide behind it, blame others for it, and let it destroy their confidence. They allow fear to dictate their life instead of using it to drive them. Consistency requires the courage to fail repeatedly, to face rejection, to endure embarrassment, to be wrong and still move forward. A man who fears failure cannot commit to routines, cannot push limits, and cannot rise above mediocrity. The path to mastery is lined with failures, and the sooner a man accepts that, the faster he grows. Fear of failure is natural, but it is not a barrier. It is a signal that you are on the edge of growth. Men who succeed don't let fear paralyze them, they let it sharpen them. They step into challenges while weaker men hesitate. They take action when others wait. They risk what others avoid, and that is why they become unstoppable. If you want consistency, you must learn to befriend failure, to see it as feedback, as fuel, as a test that proves how badly you want your goals. Only then does fear stop being a chain and start being the engine that powers relentless, unbreakable consistency. You lose consistency when you compare your chapter 1 to someone's chapter 20. Comparison steals your energy. It makes small progress feel worthless. It makes effort feel futile. You see someone else's highlight reel and measure yourself against it, forgetting that their journey is decades ahead while you are just starting. Comparison destroys momentum and breeds insecurity. It makes you question your worth, your abilities, your potential. It convinces you that you are behind, that you are failing, that your work is meaningless. When your mind is occupied with others' success, your own mission stalls. You waste time and energy trying to imitate or compete with men who have walked paths you haven't even begun. Your only competitor is yesterday's version of yourself. Consistency grows when you measure growth against the man you were, not the man you wish you were. Every day you aim to improve, to add value, to push harder than you did before. Every small victory compounds into momentum that cannot be stopped. Focus on your lane and the results become inevitable. The world is full of distractions, false benchmarks, and other men's stories, but a disciplined man blocks it all out. He builds his life brick by brick. He sets standards for himself. He tracks his progress. He honors his own path without comparing it to anyone else. Comparison is a trap because it makes you reactive instead of proactive. It makes you weak instead of strong. It shifts your attention from execution to judgment, from growth to envy, from action to despair. A man who avoids the comparison trap channels all his energy into consistent effort, into mastery, into becoming the best version of himself. When you stop measuring against others and start measuring against yourself, every day becomes a test of your discipline, your vision, your standards. You begin to build unstoppable momentum because your focus is locked, your mind is sharp, and your actions are guided by your own mission, not the noise of the world. Consistency is born from self-mastery, not imitation. And the moment you step out of the comparison trap, you step into the path of real growth, power, and achievement. Without purpose, consistency dies quickly. A life without direction is like a ship without a rudder. It drifts aimlessly, susceptible to every wave and wind. A missionless man has no fire, no drive, no reason to push through pain, struggle, or setbacks. Every obstacle feels heavier, every effort feels meaningless, and every failure chips away at his motivation. Purpose sharpens your discipline like a blade. It focuses your energy, aligns your actions, and turns ordinary effort into relentless execution. When you know why you fight, you don't need external motivation. You don't rely on fleeting moods. You don't wait for inspiration to strike. Your mission becomes the engine of your consistency, powering you forward even on the hardest days. A man with purpose wakes up every morning with clarity, with direction, with a plan that fuels action. He doesn't ask if he feels like doing the work. He knows the work is non-negotiable because it serves something bigger than himself. Purpose creates obsession. Obsession creates momentum, and momentum creates unstoppable consistency. Without purpose, every habit feels like a chore. Every routine feels like a burden, and every goal feels distant and unattainable. Men without purpose start strong but collapse at the first sign of difficulty. They wander through life hoping luck will carry them, but luck never builds greatness. Purpose is the anchor in chaos, the compass in uncertainty, the fire in the dark. When your purpose is clear, failure becomes feedback, setbacks become lessons, and consistency becomes automatic. You no longer question your actions because every action is tied to a meaningful reason. To build unbreakable consistency, you must define a mission that excites, scares, and challenges you. Something that demands sacrifice, focus, and relentless effort. A man with purpose does not drift, does not waver, does not stop. He keeps moving forward because stopping is not an option. And that is how greatness is forged. You can't stay consistent if you're trying to succeed with an outdated version of yourself. Holding on to old habits, old beliefs, and old limitations is a recipe for stagnation. A man who refuses to evolve fights against his own potential. He struggles because his mind, body, and actions are tied to a weaker version of himself. Reinvention is mandatory for any man who wants power and progress. Every powerful man in history has killed the weak version of himself and replaced it with someone stronger, smarter, faster, and more disciplined. Reinvention is brutal, uncomfortable, and necessary. It forces you to shed familiar but limiting identities. It forces you to confront your flaws, face your fears, and upgrade your standards. Kill the weak identity, build the stronger one, and consistency becomes your natural state instead of a temporary effort. When the man inside you evolves, your actions automatically align with your new identity. You no longer need willpower to push through, because your life, your habits, and your decisions are already structured to support the stronger version of you. Staying the same guarantees mediocrity. It guarantees inconsistency. It guarantees the slow death of ambition. A man who reinvents himself regularly becomes unshakable, his discipline unbreakable, his growth unstoppable. Each reinvention teaches you new skills, reshapes your mindset, and deepens your resilience. Reinvention is not about occasional change. It is a lifestyle. It is a continuous upgrade of who you are. Every failure, every challenge, every discomfort becomes an opportunity to evolve. A man who refuses reinvention stays trapped in old routines, old excuses, and old limitations, and consistency is impossible in that prison. To stay consistent, you must be willing to let go of who you were and embrace who you must become. You must destroy weaknesses, embrace discipline, raise your standards, and step into an identity that demands action, commitment, and relentless growth. When you do this, consistency stops being a struggle and becomes your default mode, your natural state, and your ultimate weapon for success. If you watched this far, you already know the truth. Consistency is not luck. It's identity, discipline, and structure. Every man can become unstoppable if he's willing to face himself and rebuild his habits. If you found value in this video, subscribe to the channel, stay sharp, stay disciplined, and keep building the strongest version of yourself.